Hey, and this video will cover how you can connect Mail.com with the Assistant API from OpenAI. And we'll also cover how you can connect the file storage to the Assistant API so we can send the file and process the file. We'll explain this on a workflow where we get the invoice by email, process the email using OpenAI. So we're extracting the total value of the invoice and then comparing that to a value in a sheet. The business case would be if you want to check is the invoice that's being sent by a contractor equivalent to what you have in your system. So let's get started. As I mentioned, we'll be using make.com. And this is the email that we are sending, and it contains this invoice. It has some description, items, and a price point. This invoice mimics a real document or invoice like that you can get in a PDF format. So it's not just a couple of numbers, making it easy to determine what's the total value. It's a bigger invoice document. It will be sent via email, and then we will upload that invoice to OpenAI and store it in the vector storage that the Assistant API has access to. When we get that, we'll use Assistant to process the invoice. So we'll get the compensation and then we'll compare it. Is it equal to the value that we have in this sheet? So in this example, we're just using sheets, but it can be any software that you want. So let's start this example. First, we are accessing emails and we got the email. The invoice should be uploaded to the file storage here. And now the assistant is processing the invoice. The assistant is instructed to find the total price of the invoice. And it will take a couple of seconds until it processes. And then we will also extract the value from the sheet. So let's take a look. So we got this email and we got the attachment here. We can see that we have a PDF file. That PDF file is then uploaded and it's sent to the assistant. If we click on the assistant, we can see to configure the assistant, we choose what engine we are going to use. Since we are selecting an existing assistant, I'll show you that in the system playground, but we are using the 4.0 engine. The role is user, and we are asking what is the total price of the invoice, and then we are using the file name that we got submitting here. And we are extracting it to just output the price. We can also look at this. Here we are just providing the file name from the email and the file data. So you go here and then you can find the file name, and because you need the exact file name because that will be used in the vector database to search it. We don't need currently any of these, like what's the text and so on. Then uploading the file to the vector database, we just have to select what's the vector store ID and what's the file ID. If we go to the assistant playground, we can see that this is the assistant. We've selected the model, we enabled the file search, and then we can add files, or we can add the database. I already added the database here, and you can see the ID and the documents it contains. And this is the document that was uploaded as we were filming. And then if we go there, we can see that this is the vector store. So if you want to create a new vector store, you can just create it and input the name, and then select that name when you are doing when you're creating the assistant. And finally, if we look here, we can see that the value that we got here is 1,250 USD, and that is the same as we got here. And we extract the feed from here, and compensation is here. Afterwards, we could implement flows when the values are matching and they're not matching. If they're matching, you can automatically pay it or send it for payment. If they're not matching, you should alert the manager, and then he or she can take a look into it and see why do we have discrepancies in data. It can be via email or it can be alert. So these two things would depend on what's the process you have. But you're maybe wondering, why do we have to have this many steps to process file? It's not that easy to process file on the OpenAI API. It's not like when you're using the UI and you just copy the document and ask questions. I don't know why they build it, but sometimes when you pass a link to an image or to something, they say they cannot access the external links and so on. With this way, this is like a bulletproof way of doing it. You could use different models, like the Claude model from Anthropic. And they are a little bit easier to work with when you want to process some images and files. I can cover that in the next video. As always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment. And if you want to build AI agents or business automations, I will leave a link in the description where you can submit the form or book a call on my website.